Palestinian artist and experimental musician. I actually relocated to the United States a year ago, so I'm new here. I've been practicing art and music most of my life in Palestine and Syria. So I'm happy and honored to be here just to exchange and share that experience with you and tell you more about my life, my art, how did I start, and then maybe we can have a question and answer. Like, yeah. And excuse my English; it's not the best. So if I messed up sometime, it's you can correct me. So I'm gonna start with just a little introduction. I was born in Syria actually, and in 1991 to a refugee family, Palestinian family. We were moving as a refugee family from Palestine to Lebanon to Jordan and Syria until we relocated in Palestine. And of course, all of that is because of the Israeli occupation. So a very big part of my childhood, we were undocumented and very much unlisted. So that was very hard to be a refugee, a child with no documents, but at the same time you're trying to understand how does the system work, how can I tell who I am without anything to prove. So and that got me to art and music because it's I think the only and mostly the freest medium or the freest world that I can create that identity without being judged or corrected or even controlled by the system. So, and I'm gonna talk later on about the education and all that, but I will play the short film maybe, and then tell you more about that process and what type of work I did in Palestine, and then how did I get here, and what type of work I'm doing here. So I'm gonna show the film. are my students in Ramallah. They are from Columbia refugee camp. I did this work with Alexia Webster from South Africa and Christopher Marianetti, who's from here, from the United States. We did workshops at the Columbia refugee camp and with these kids who mostly didn't go out of the refugee camp ever in their life or traveled because of the political situation. Most of them are musicians, most of them play instruments, and we did this workshop, and I tried in the workshop ask them and question them about the things around us in Ramallah and Palestine, especially the wall that basically segregate Israel from Palestine. So the other side is the Israeli side. They can't see what type of children the Israeli children are or people. And it was made just not to have any type of interaction or just simply knowing the other side. And I try to play with that idea. What if we think about it as a Lego or as different material that's not that strong? And one of the students came with the idea that they see it as a flying piano, and this is how we came up with the idea of the wall piano. And it's interesting because I still work with my students. Mainly I work with refugee kids. Or here we did a lot of work with Found Sound Nation and One Beach Residency. A lot of work with African American kids and indigenous kids, or in general all type of kids that come from poor families or has disabilities, and so it's very much the way I learned art in the beginning, especially in my childhood. I didn't know how to make art or where I'm going with that, but it was very much therapeutic in a war zone that I can't really understand why they are fighting, what's going on, but I know that the colors makes more sense, or music makes more sense than these two parties or that war mechanism. And I love to continue with that when I become an adult and I learned and I studied art. I wanted always to go back and work with kids and refugee kids because I understand what type of feelings they might have in an environment like that. It's very toxic, but at the same time, they're the hope of the future, peace, everything that we are hoping to happen in Palestine. And it's very sad what's going on right now in Palestine and in Gaza and at this time. And I hope for all of this to stop, because it can't just go on and happen in any lifetime like this. it's very sad if we pass our, childhoods to other children's childhoods, I think, and I don't wish it on any other Palestinian kid or any even Jewish kid or any kid. I think I've always wanted to make art because it was the only thing that saved me in that space, in that time. So I'm very blessed. I appreciate art. I appreciate music. It's the best feeling ever. And I just hope that even the collaboration with Daniel is making that feeling, that unity between Palestinians and the Jewish community. The healthy connection that we can have is actually the hope in creating art, music, anything that's creative to build a better future. And I think it's going to be hard for Palestinians to fight alone throughout throughout this. I think also the Jewish community is going to be a powerful part of until we get to our liberation. So this is the wall piano piece, and I'm gonna also show another. It's a music piece. It's talking about this subject, and if Daniel wants to jump in and have anything to say about it, I would love to hear that. So I'm gonna play this music piece first, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Some people think Taco Bell is only for late night, but if that was the case, it wouldn't be open all day. That'd be horrible management. It's also for daytime, which is why Taco Bell's introducing their new Cantina Chicken menu. With new Cantina Chicken tacos, burrito, and quesadilla, with seasoned slow roasted chicken, and even a new category salsa packet. You should try it today, emphasizing that word so you don't forget that it's not just for late night.
Introducing the new Cantina Chicken menu, Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for participation which varies.
What's wrong?
My travel rewards card didn't earn enough miles for my...
Too, but sorry about that. But I'm also here with my daughter, my beautiful 2 years old daughter. Her name is Inanna, and she always assists me with anything I'm doing. So it's an experimental for real. Yeah.
Hundreds of people murdered, thousands of people wounded, and many thousands of people homeless with no roof over their heads. Large, huge buildings bound to the ground. This cannot be tolerated. This has to stop today. As Jewish people we say, may the world hear us. May the world hear the voice of the Jewish people who come out in public, and may they hear the silent voice of those many people who are fearful to come out, as you can imagine. We say, this is not supported by all Jews, neither is this supported by the Jewish religion. The Jewish religion never condoned killing and oppression. Palestine. They weren't murdered. Before the invention of Zionism going back before the 1920s, we lived in peace. We were loyal citizens in Palestine and in many other Muslim countries, and we were respected and protected.
long, but I would, share more about the experimental music I make, which started in Palestine. And I very much started by making field recordings or interviews. I didn't know at that time what experimental music was. but I really wanted the layering of sounds that I used to, yeah, I used to, yeah, that's, yeah. You know, I used to listen to a lot of sounds in Palestine. There is a lot of similarities between the situation in Palestine and experimental music. It's very, Palestine is very experimental to me, and this is how I actually started making experimental music as a reflection of the reality in Palestine. It's very disturbing, it could be very noisy, toxic, but I took the war sounds as very much the bass and the instruments in the pieces, and I built on them, but very in a very playful way. I've never studied music or anything like that, but I saw the pieces as a layered kind of a storytelling pieces about the situation, and I was at first I was performing in public spaces without any announcements or events. I would take like in the street or abandoned houses with open doors. I would go take sound speakers and start making experimental music, or by the farmers market, and at first it was very hard to make experimental music. I was very much attacked kind of to do that because it's not music, and the audience is mad because you're not bringing any type of rhythm. They're not used to this, and what's going on. But I remember I did a public performance next to a farmer's market, and the one lady she was selling the fruits, and she came after the show and she said, "I'm not an artist, not a musician, but what I heard from this music made me think about memories." It's just like thinking was very much the state of what I was hearing, and I thought that was very interesting, like to always, it's not, when you make experimental music and performances like that, it's not only the fact that you yourself, you're experiencing a music or a structure that you're not sure where it's going, like you can't control it 100%, it's very much open, it's very free. At the same time, you can't control what type of audience and how they're gonna get that. I love when just ordinary people would listen and allow themselves just to, you know, experience that and be very much open-minded, maybe more than people who practice music or art. They might be very critical and just harsh. So it was very much at first a public space type of interaction, and then I started performing in different countries and different places and cities, and I created my own notational score because, as I said, I didn't study music. I can't read notation scores, but I know how to draw them. I'm a painter. Before I started making music, so I started drawing and painting the notation scores for for each piece. To me, the music I'm making is very much visual, it's very much handmade, a process of all kinds, and it's beautiful just to without any judgments to create our own world or system, whether throughout the notation score system. We don't have any Arab musicians who created that, or in the art history, the music history. We don't read about Arab musicians who started experimental music when John Cage was making music, but they were making that too. So it's very interesting for me to think about who writes that history, who got the power to document that and be very much lasted, and then other countries or part of the world is not very much in that history. So it's very interesting. It's very political too, and that's why I felt that I want to make all that, and in a very playful way, but at the same time, it's just an added power to just play with the idea. Yeah, Daniel, wanna say something? Okay, if you wanna jump in.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
There's several things that you've talked about that really resonate with me. And maybe you could speak more on them, or we can also just leave them there. The first is the idea of experimental music, whether it's field recording or re-amplifying in abandoned houses, the documenting of farmers markets, and just the general sounds and energies and flows of life and humanity. That already experimental music is sort of a radical act because it's very consciously going against a lot of norms and forms. But to do that as somebody who is born a refugee and living in occupied territory, that the documenting of life around you and this cataloging, that there's a whole other depth to that practice, and it to me it makes total sense why you would be drawn to that. I can also totally understand why there would be pushback against that, because there is this almost like evidence gathering of this is what is happening. And not only this is what's happening, but now this is what's happening through my own personal filter, my own artistic aesthetic. That to me is an incredibly powerful act on your part, and I'm wondering if that's a conscious thing on your part, this sort of cataloging and safekeeping and safeguarding of the memory of life, or if that's just something that you were intuitively drawn to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think the idea was very much since the beginning to me is to criticize the seriousness of the political situation that's happening, and always make kind of fun of, because to people who are not used to that, or a very, very stressed political environment such as Palestine, and you bring in something that you can define, it's very much free, it's open, it's very much, they might take it as offending, And I remember I did a short film that was shown all over the world in film festivals. And I used the footage of the Palestinian president, Yasser Arafat. He was talking about, political speech about the long war and the repetition of the long war, and I used that I was repeating that, and I added experimental music to it in a way to make fun about all those political speeches that are going nowhere while people are just dying, and it's just to me it's a joke, but and then the Palestinian and the Arab audience took that as very, very defensive. They would leave the room, they would leave the cinema, the theater, and so it can be very much not dangerous, but very much like straightforward, harsh. Like, oh, we don't like it, we're leaving, because it's intense there as well, and when you come from a place such as Palestine with a lot of tension in the political situation, you feel that any criticism that you give to your own people, sometimes they take it as, no, we can't do this. To the international people, they don't prefer to show that image. They prefer just to put things under the rug. And I think part of criticizing Israel and what's happening, it's also very much important to just criticize ourselves and what's happening. And it's just until this day, I feel that I don't understand if the reality is very dreamy. Sometimes I feel it's unreal, and then art and music, the real world, and sometimes it feels the opposite. So I think, it's all about that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up play.
Yeah.
Playfulness. When we came here, we happened to pass by Sophia's amazing sculpture. For those of you in the audience, I highly recommend checking out the L shape in the main gallery. Sophia, amazing kinetic sculptor, the intimacy machine. But we were talking about the experience of that piece being like sitting in this very large metal sculpture that is both expressing intimacy and comfort and playfulness, but also imposing and weighty and sharp and dangerous. And I don't know, that feels very apt for a lot of the language in your own music, and that Shostakovich was doing this in World War II against Stalin, Prokofiev the same, but this idea of using humor as sort of the sugar to then, sort of slip the real nutritional stuff and the things that need to be said and felt.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I feel that humor is the opposite of, and it makes sense, especially in any creative and artistic projects that I made in Palestine, making a humor art or just something that has playful, even funny. I love the idea of bringing something funny, something fun, unserious. It's just break that toughness that people think that, us Palestinians have to be all the time tough and have to be that way and serious, and we don't joke and we can't. But it's the opposite. I feel that it's a lot of pressure, and it's the beauty of it all is just to always remember that we have to go back to these emotions as well.
A couple of responses to to continue the conversation on humor, that humor is an incredible comfort, and maintains our humanity in otherwise situations where we are experiencing inhumanity, and just humor is what helps us get through life in general. And I remember it's one of my favorite memories about I shouldn't say memories because she's here right now with us, my mom. That when she was pregnant with me, she first wished that I was healthy, that I would come into the world healthy, but two, that I would have a good sense of humor. Not that I was intelligent, not that I could play music, not that I was I had good looks, or no, that I had a good sense of humor, because the good sense of humor, one, it allows you to connect to people, and two, that when things are difficult, that
And also, it's like humor is not easy either.
No.
It really requires a lot of you really need to be smart.
Oh, and it can be deadly serious,
Right.
and that especially that I notice that in your music sometimes that humor is oftentimes not used to a humorous end.
Yeah.
That humor is used as an amplifier of some other emotion, such that maybe what was already disturbing is now even more horrific, because now there is this lens of humor, and now is there this whole other layer of irony that is forcing you to reckon with either personal feelings of shame or conflict, or the inherent sort of hypocrisy that we experience when we're experiencing something to be both funny but also horrifying at the same time. So that's one thing that I really admire about your music and your just general approach to art making. And in the less than 24 hours I've gotten to spend time with you, just sort of your general way of being in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, are we performing?
Yeah, we should probably play now. I feel like this is a good opportunity to just step in and play. At some point, I would love for you as well, just because you are such an amazing visual artist as well, to share some of your paintings with everybody too, just so that they have.
Yeah.
And maybe we could even put up maybe a painting just such that there's something projecting while we're playing.
Yes.
That might feel appropriate.
Should I?
Yeah, you can just maybe.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Or something? Okay. Sorry, it's not that professional.
That's
on
okay.
Instagram, but it's to show some paintings.
And then the last thing while you're pulling that up, because this feels like a nice sort of a closing thought before we begin, is a conversation we were having this morning about shards, because the piece that you played was called The Missing Piece.
Yeah.
And this idea of shards or fracturedness or memories and piecing things together. And that in Judaism there's this idea of tikkun olam, which literally means to put things back together.
Oh.
I don't know, there's a fractured nature to your music, like you talk about memory, and so it's almost sort of like this swirling around of these fractured memories, or sounds, but it feels, I don't know, like this putting back together as you're gathering, and I don't know, that just sort of felt like the last thing I felt like talking about.
Yeah, that's a beautiful. What was the term?
Tikkun olam.
Tikkun olam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we were talking about that today,
Yeah.
actually, when we were talking about the Jewish-Palestinian unity and power and coming together. And you said that term again, which is interesting. I mean, I'm gonna show just
Yeah, please.
some of the paintings. And mainly I paint food and traditional Palestinian food, also Arab food. I'm very much interested in the idea of the family table, family gathering without any human figures. And I started this project when I came to the US. I'm actually here without my family, me and my little baby, so I feel it all makes sense because I really miss the family feeling and the idea of food just brings people together. The family table, the family time. So I started more painting that, and mostly it's very also political because most of these foods Israelis stole and said that it's Israeli food, but it's actually Palestinian. So simply you can look at it and say it's a beautiful painting of food, just food painting, but it's actually, it has that always political aspect to it, just by looking at it and reading the conflict about that. So it's very interesting being a Palestinian artist. Even if you decide to paint food, there's always some political side about it, and as even as simple as it could be, but it's not simple at the same time. So I'm very much about that too, because we talked about the idea of being playful, and I love playing in those areas that looks very, very simple, very nothing going on, nothing about the situation, but it always bring back that, and I think that's the depth of any Palestinian artist that can create or make anything, and there is always some type of strong conceptual meaning that gonna follow, that's gonna be part of the work. So it's a great opportunity for all of us at this time and what's happening, maybe to study the Palestinian art more, the Palestinian music, the whole creation, because it got a depth and conceptual meanings that nobody just can understand easily. We all need to understand more about the situation through art and music. So I would love if we, of course, invite more Palestinian artists and musicians. So, but that's mainly for the paintings, and it could be very much like homes, the homes that I remember, and whether in Syria, I try to paint patterns and scenes that stuck in my head, but I know that it's gonna be hard to go back to that. I remember the family house in Syria got bombed, but still there's scenes and colors and patterns of furniture and things that's still in my mind. So I'm trying to collect all those pieces of the homes that we forcibly had to move between those countries because we were refugees. But as you see, it's a lot of colors, warmth, life, regardless of the status and how the movement situation and the fact that we were refugees. So I really love playing kind of with that because it's again, it's looking at a simple piece of home or a nice scene, and but it could be a scene that got destroyed or demolished by war. So it's way more than what we might be looking at. So yeah, I'm gonna actually end up with this one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we'll play some music?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna perform. Can we put Inanna maybe here with the audience?
I'd actually be okay to leave the door open if people feel like wondering if that's okay for sound
There's a
leading out.
scissor lift outside.
What's that?
There's a scissor lift going.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So yes,
We like a scissor lift. I'm gonna go check on Asma. I'll be right back. All good?
Yeah, I had to take Nana out just a little bit for the noise.
No, I love her noise.
Yeah.
I think her noise is
Thank you.
welcome and lovely and
Yeah.
how do you feel? Do you want to do more? Do we feel good about that one and just leave it there?
I think we're good.
Okay.
I thought that somebody's joining for.
I
question
thought
and answer.
so. And it's, let's see, I'm looking at the time now, 5:12. Maybe we do a little bit more music if that's okay.
Yeah, we can do more, or if there's any
Yeah, any questions or
from
yeah, please.
people, we would love to hear from you. Yeah. I mean, if there is.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think, thank you. I think really like this music.
If you could hold that mic close.
Yeah, I think the painful thing about this, for me, is that, I live, I'm just what I would like, some type of, I guess, just to say it, maybe even, I live with a Jewish grandma right now, and she's my bubby, even though I'm not ethnically Jewish. And it's not so much just about her, but, I know she's a really good person and everything. I think that everybody is trying to cope with what's going on in every way they can. And now, because of this music, I've been coping with it by not talking to people and being alone and being angry and wishing that God would just get it over with, But then I see your kid, and I know that there's a lot of kids just like her. And there's a very big price on just getting it over with, which he will eventually do. But, how do I go? I mean, how long have you been in America for long?
It's less than a year now. Yeah.
There's kind of a culture here of staying happy, no matter what.
You say what?
There's a culture here of staying happy, trying to pretend. In my opinion,
it's not about pretending. I think it's about the fact that we deserve to be happy. We deserve to be safe. I think me and my daughter coming from from Palestine is it was a chance for both of us to be in a better, healthier environment. Of course, I don't think there's any place that's perfect. We can criticize all types of countries, but I feel that it's not about pretending. It's about the fact that yes, we are happy at least about the basics of life. We didn't have that basics, like just to wake up, not have any issues, not to go to school and have to cross a group of soldiers that's pointing their guns at you. That's not that's not normal. But at least to have just a normal life. I'm going to school, I'm going to work, I'm coming here to present my work. I don't want no troubles, nothing. That by itself is happiness, just to have that, you know.
Yeah. I think it's just, I agree, but I guess I come from a different background, you know, like my brother, when Katrina happened, you know, I'm from Texas, and there were those people who were on those rooftops, and he was saying the military should just go in there and kill all of them, these poor people. Mm-hmm. So there's a quote in Proverbs that says, the house of the wise is the happiness, and he puts his house, he lives in the house of mourning, you know. And though his house is small, it may grow to have many rooms, you know. So it's just, but the flip side of that is that I mourn a lot and I don't get anything done. I'm not very productive. So I don't know. I don't have a question really. But you touched my heart with this music, and I deserve to at least say how you made me feel. And I'll have to deal with the aftermath, I guess.
Thank you. I mean, thanks for sharing that. I feel that us talking about these traumas, or when I share something about my childhood in Palestine, even though it's miles and miles away, it's amazing how these struggles can touch each other, and we can feel them strongly without you having to be in a war or under occupation or being Palestinian, but you have your own struggle. And I think this is very important and it means a lot, because this is how we just take from each other's pain and the weight that we have on. We don't have to carry it all alone, but someone with broken English can understand totally the pain you're in, because we have that too, you know. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for writing this music. And I do have one question, just based on your knowledge. What is the best way that we can help? You know, is it donating to a food organization? Because there's so many issues all at once in Palestine, and I'm over here. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that the other day. I feel that even help is useless, because what does it mean to just us donating food or money or anything? I think it's more of a matter of there must be a stand that people should take to stop this. That's the best help we can do in any situation like that. I think the problem is not a hunger problem or any of that. It's the fact that I don't want people to suffer, but they're getting some type of help of food to eat, but they're still suffering. Or they're still in pain and they might be killed tomorrow, but they got some donations to eat. That's not the problem. I think the problem is we need to stop funding big countries who have way a lot of resources and money and army to make those wars. We have to stop that, because if the other party has none of that, then they're not equal. We need to just make both equal and then let life be. No one is saying that Israel needs to leave Palestine and go back to Europe and where they come from. No, but all you need to do is just to let go of the power that you think you have and all the money and resources to make war and choose peace with the other people and just live together. I think this is the best way. We've just put our egos to the side and allow life to happen, you know. Because even whether Palestinian kids or Israeli kids don't have to go through being brainwashed to go to the army and kill people that they've been taught that they are monsters and human animals, and they have to be killed. None of that is true, and no child on this earth deserve to be taught that since they are this small, just to go fight for your agendas and propagandas. You're using Jewish kids and you're using Israeli kids. I feel bad for Israeli people because, you know, they're blind by those agendas, you know. So I think even our egos, we put that to the side. The fact that this is our land, they stole it and everything, but allow some type of peace to happen because this is the right thing to do.
I agree.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Questions or comments or whatever, if you have.
Talk about the piece of music.
That we just played? Do we want to talk about what we played?
We can.
Sure.
I mean, it's very. It happened just the last moment when we were preparing, and it was very much a layered piece of the sound of the bombing, the airstrikes that the people in Gaza might now experience, and now they're hearing all the time, which causing a lot of people and children a lot of sleep issues and a lot of fear. So we used that as the base, and we built on it some noisy, experimental, and then Daniel did his beautiful music, the piano, and but mainly we didn't focus very much on the structure of the music. We very much, I loved the fact that Daniel invited me here. He shared his personal story and his personal passion about creating this, even if it's individual, it's happening on a small scale, but this is a translation of how can we bring both people together, the Palestinian and Jewish community, just by two people that could be friends, music fellows, doing something together in the time where in other part of the world they can't even come together. So I hope we are at at some point we are making history, creating history by just small movement and just a small effort.
Yeah, I think I came into this with a similar feeling of seeing this as an opportunity to have a performance in and of itself be a political act, which is not something that I regularly have the opportunity to engage in. And I'm grateful for the opportunity because this, selfishly, it makes me feel like, yeah, this is what we do. Oh. I think that's me. Those little critters are always listening. But yeah, like, because this is real.
Yes.
As you were saying earlier, that real life so often feels like a bad dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been really true for me lately. That the times where I feel the most present and the most connected to the actual like world around me are now. This conversation, that performance, getting to meet your daughter and play with her. The community that was built to even just put this little concert together. The synth that you're playing is borrowed from my student Adam, who has also been helping with tech for this concert. The crew coming together to also make this happen. The funding that Cal Arts is putting forward to make all like. Yeah, this is a drop in the bucket, but it at least it feels like something. Such that when we feel powerless to do anything to fight the big machine, that these little grassroots actions, one, they're joyful, and that gives us the strength to have sort of the long fight. Because if you don't have the joy in it, then you burn out. Because it's too hard and it's too sad and it's too infuriating to be that hurt and that angry all the time. Oh gosh, there's one more thing that I wanted to say in response to what you said, but I'm totally blanking now. I guess it couldn't have been that important. Oh yes, talking about the piece, coming back to that. For me, this piece was very much the idea of there's this biblical passage of beating plowshares into swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. The idea of taking weapons and turning them into agricultural tools to sustain life. And so I see a very similar process in your art too, that you have this impulse, okay, I'm going to take these sounds of weapons, I'm going to take the sounds of oppression, and I'm going to find a way to turn that into music. That's going to be the basis. And in the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable, but by the end of it, like somehow it's going to be therapeutic. And there's this transformation that happens with your material that I resonate with. I mean, similarly with the megaphones, that visually they look like these, instruments of protest or potentially of, could be weaponized as well, but that when they're played, they're, relatively delicate and kind of bird-like sometimes, and it's, and the same for the shofar that I brought up, the ram's horn, that it is typically an instrument that is either used during wartime or is used during sacred holidays, but also is used for specifically when mothers are grieving the loss of their children. And so similarly, like this instrument that is normally thought of in a militaristic context can be repurposed and transformed into something that can heal and build community. And so yeah, I absolutely buy what you're talking about in terms of the power of the small. Because it can be small objects that transform, it can be small groups of people that transform, but that's how we actually make things that feel real, because the big picture is too dreamlike. We have no control over that, but our own little silly worlds
Yeah.
that we can
Yeah.
affect.
And today you said something very important about the small efforts and the small movements, even if we think that it's not as powerful, and that just got my attention that, yeah, actually it is powerful, and it could be even more powerful than what we think is controlling us. That's what we are rooting for. I think as long as we move by the heart and we are staying true to ourselves as an artist, people in the audience will always get the message and share that feeling with you. I think just focusing on that is the most important thing, you know, and practicing that, what we believe in, and even the feeling of the movement, the anger, as you said, but even coming to America, I discovered that at this age I've never talked to any Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
I for the first time, even though us and Israelis, we are this close to each other, but I've never known how they are, what they eat. What I remember the first time I met my Jewish friend in music residency, I was looking at him eating, just eating, like how they eat, what they do, what they like. I want to touch him and see how he is. Is he, you know, because we had that idea, surreal idea that they are different and they hate us and they, you know. So it was weird, but at the same time, like coming to America is developing a lot of that identity and my Palestinian identity to break all the borders, rules, and look around and just feel that, oh shit, we were brainwashed too. So it's a funny thing, but at the same time, you become the message. You learn and then you get all that, and then through art and what you do, you become like, oh, I need to write about this. I need to, I want to teach about that one day and tell my students these stories. So, I mean, I just hope, I hope for the war to stop. I hope for a better future, and I'm very happy, you know, I'm here with you. So thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Asma. All right, I think that's a good place for us to wrap up.
Yes.
Again, big thank you to the crew. Asma, thank you for being here. And we'll be here breaking down if you have any other questions and want to come talk to Asma to learn more about her. And yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.